We have seen many women who suffer violence from their husband, rape by their husbands. After all, consent is an important aspect. You can't be treated as chattel.
On the presumption of consent, where a marital relationship exists, what is referred to as marital rape, these recommendations have far-reaching implications and have to be carefully considered after consulting the stakeholders concerned.
Hi there. Should marital rape or rape of a wife by her husband be made an offence in India? The Verma Committee report on women's safety made the recommendation that marital rape should be an offence. But Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, speaking about the recently released government ordinance on rape laws, said marital rape is a complicated issue and there is no consensus on it. We're asking, does marital rape offence give legal recourse to abused women, or does such a clause have the potential to destroy relationships and families, as has been argued? Our question of the day: has Indian society failed to recognize the rights of wives, particularly their sexual rights, in a marriage? That's the Face the Nation debate, which we want you to join. Tweet us at IBN Live with the hashtag marital rape. We'll try and bring your tweet into our debate tonight. Joining us, Sudha Sundaraman, General Secretary of ADWA, joining us. Captain Arun Sethi, Founder President of Purushwa Parivar Adhikar Surakshan Sangathan, joining us. Mihira Sood, lawyer, joining us. Wakif Ali, co-founder of Safe Family Foundation. Thanks everyone very much indeed. Sudha Sundaraman, marital rape has been a long-standing demand of the women's movement since the 1980s. The government ordinance that was released yesterday does not include the Verma Committee recommendation on marital rape. Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said there is no consensus. It's a complicated issue. Do you feel that the marital rape as an offence in a society which places so much value on marriage as an institution, on the rights of the husband and the rights of the wife, so much value is placed on the institutional dimensions of marriage? Is marital rape an alien concept in a culture like India?
The question really is, are we living in an egalitarian society? Are we living in a democratic society? Does the Constitution give all of us equal rights? Does it not give the woman, whether it is a wife or whether she is outside of the home, a right to a violence-free life? Now everybody, I think, would accept that rape is violence. And how do you define rape or sexual assault? Without the woman's consent, if you indulge in a physical relationship, a sexual act, that amounts to rape. Now, whether it is within the marriage or outside of it, it has to be accepted as a violence, as a transgression of rights, as a violation. How can the government betray a whole section of society like this in the name of a highly feudal and patriarchal mindset?
Wakif Ali, let me point to you. This is a question of a feudal and patriarchal mindset. This offence must be there because there are many instances. In fact, I have figures. The UN Population Fund has stated that more than 2/3 married women in India aged between 15 and 49 have been beaten, raped or forced to provide sex. And according to the same source, marital rape happens every 6 hours. There is no awareness on the part of the man that marriage is not permanent subordination and that consent is required for the act of sex. Therefore, marital rape in the Indian context must be an offence.
See, and let me first educate everyone in the house there that sexual abuse, rapes and everything is a recognized crime in India. Domestic Violence Act, which was passed in 2006, has a clause number 3, 1 or 2, okay, that recognizes sexual abuse as one of the violent crimes that a married woman can actually file a complaint against the authority. This is a recognized crime in the Domestic Violence Act.
So you don't need an extra offence of marital rape.
IPC 498A, it's a cruelty on a woman, all forms of cruelty. And again you want to put another law of marital rape? See, we have seen the history of all the gender biased laws, how they are being grossly misused. 498A is a glaring example of that. All agencies, all authorities, judiciary have made a clear markdown that some overhauling has to be done in the law. But instead of doing something, we want to introduce another law that is going to be grossly misused and grossly abused.
The law may be grossly misused, Mihira Sood. Why not, in the case of a marital rape, why does the woman not have the recourse of simply divorce on the grounds of cruelty?
a couple of points. One, when it's not about introducing a new offence, you're simply removing an exception that currently exists in the IPC that says where you define rape, it says exception being that where the person accused of rape is married to the victim.
Right, let's bring that up. Let's bring that up for our viewers. Section 375 of the IPC, sexual intercourse by man with his own wife, the wife not being under 15 years of age, is not rape.
The fact of the matter is, I think, as Sudha was saying, it's a question of how do you define rape and how do you define marriage. Is rape a violation of your bodily integrity, of your sexual autonomy, or do you view rape as the violation of somebody else's property? That is ultimately what it comes down to, because when you say rape is cannot be by a husband on his own wife, you're ultimately saying if he owns her, then he can't rape her. Secondly, how do you view marriage? Is it a partnership between equals? Or is it irrevocable consent to sexual intercourse for the rest of your life? I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to.
But Mihira, it's a complicated issue, isn't it? It's a complicated issue. It has to be, I think, thought about and nuanced, because at the end of the day, after 10 years of a normal marriage, let's put it this way, 10 years of a normal, more or less happy marriage, if a woman suddenly stands up and says, I've been raped by my husband, and he needs to be put in jail for marital rape. Now, how do you prove that? And how do you implement that? And what are going to be the guidelines for a woman suddenly saying that I've been raped by my husband to whom I've been married for 10 years? Is it just her word that is going to put him in jail?
Sagarika, I don't think it's complicated at all, actually. How then do you prosecute rape in any situation?
Is it just her word?
No.
She says he's raped me after 10 years of marriage, so he goes to jail.
In any situation of intimate relationship, then tomorrow you can then say you can't have date rape, or you can't have rape in a situation where you've been seeing somebody for 10 years but are not married to them. In any intimate relationship, there is still the possibility of rape. Yes, it is a little difficult to prove, but there is no reason why the fact of an existing relationship necessarily provides consent for every act of sexual intercourse.
Because it is fraught with perceptual issues, it is fraught with implementation issues, it is fraught with issues of possible misuse. But let's bring in our other men's rights activist here. Captain Arun Sethi is also joining us. Captain Arun Sethi, you heard Mihira Sood and Sudha speak there, that in any relationship the male must not feel that his wife is the subordinate partner, that she is therefore, as Leela said, she's not chattel. Her consent to the act of sex cannot be taken for granted. Surely that is what the women's activists are talking about, that the power relationship that husband and wife have in a marriage, that subordination, that perpetual and permanent consent to sex, that cannot be taken for granted. Do you believe that marital rape is an important awareness mechanism that should be put in?
Sagarika, thank you for inviting me to the studios. I have to say that men have been dubbed as perpetrators of kidnapping, adultery, dowry, domestic violence, sexual harassment and rape. And today our women have been so over-empowered without any checks and balances. It makes them extortionists and insidiously greedy and unpredictable. For example, Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code, which is open-ended for life against a man and his entire family, gives the married woman a lethal right to summon the police in the matrimonial home and sadistically and instantly throwing the entire family behind bars, which includes women. No wonder we have sought in 2002 the addition of Section 498B along with 498A and 304C along with 304B. Section 498A has
Captain Sethi, if I could ask you, we're not at this moment debating Section 498A, but we are in fact talking about marital rape.
I'm coming there. With so much of freedom given to women, without any checks and balances, and so much of adverse High Court judgments and Supreme Court findings that something is wrong with 498A, if the government goes ahead with inducting marital rape, it again empowers the woman with another lethal weapon to instantly throw the husband behind bars without any checks and balances. And what we really feel now, the time has come, that if it really comes in, then the institution of marriage goes for a 6, and you will have more social problems than ever before. Therefore, I would say that if there is a chance of this marital rape being inducted in section 375, then there should be an automatic right given to a man to do likewise what the woman does to the man. That's what I'm trying to say. Therefore, it should be even-handed, and therefore we are pleading.
So you're saying the laws are far too weighted in favor of women. These laws are becoming lethal weapons in the hands of women. Mihira, do you want to respond to what Captain Sethi is saying there?
Yeah, a couple of points. One, any law is open to misuse. You know, there isn't a single law. Tomorrow I can accuse somebody of theft, and he'll turn around and say, no, but you know, it was given to me as a present. It's a crude analogy, as we know, but an analogy it is. Every law is open to misuse. That's the purpose of a trial. It is not as if on my allegation alone somebody is thrown into jail. There is a trial. There are circumstantial evidence is taken into account. Medical evidence is taken into account. So it's not on my say-so alone. And as for his second point, that this is destroying families and just giving women too much freedom, I can really not say anything beyond the fact that it's, if taking away man's freedom to rape is being curbed, then I don't see
but
how.
I come down to it. Aren't there problems, Sudha Raman, when there is a normal relationship, when there is a marriage of long standing, when a wife in that situation, in a normal, more or less happy marriage, turns around and accuses her husband of marital rape, and he is then jailed by her word alone? Is there a difference between that situation and an abusive situation, where indeed marital rape could be a legal recourse? Surely we have to make a difference between an out and out abusive situation where a woman is being abused night and day and is being relentlessly abused, and there marital rape is a recourse. But if it's a normal marriage, then what is stopping her from using this draconian clause to simply put her husband in jail, perhaps for all kinds of ulterior motives?
Let me just say one thing. Within our society, there is a tremendous pressure on women to adjust to violence within the home. It's an accepted thing, where our experience with so many cases has been when women go to the police station saying they've been beaten up, they are being almost murdered. The FIR is very often not even filed, not registered. They are told that, what is it? We ourselves beat our wives. Is it a very big issue? Why are you making it into a big issue? So there is a construct. We are up against a system which allows, which sanctions violence within the home. So let us look at it. And rape within the institution of marriage, if the society is going to defend it, let us ask what kind of a society that is. And this whole backlash from conservative forces to equality, to equal rights of girls and women, to live a life without violence, I think this has to be brought into question. And I'm really very sorry that the government has not stood up for the rights of its women.
But
it
Sudha,
is a right of women, and it is a right of men also.
But Sudha, but you know, don't you think?
Just 1 minute. I'm just finishing one point. The men also have a right to a life free of violence. But let me make one thing clear, that a woman cannot rape a man. I mean, the rape itself is a sex-specific crime, and it's an offence committed by a man against a woman. It can be a same-sex
rape
crime,
is not no longer a gender issue, no.
So just let's listen into Mr. Waqif. Go ahead.
See, rape is no longer a gender issue. If you look all the international laws, all the laws are gender neutral law, and there have been several instances where women have found to have raped men.
No, but respond to what Sudha.
Some kind of exceptional situation, perhaps.
Let's respond to what.
There are no exceptional situations.
But let me get you to respond to what Sudha is saying. That there are countless marriages where a woman is trapped into an arranged marriage against her consent. Her consent is not there in that marriage. She's in a subordinate relationship. In that situation where her consent is not even there to the marriage, when she is being forced into sexual relations with her husband, when there are instances of marital rape, should she not have recourse to this law because of the manner in which countless women across India are married off, often against their wishes, in arranged marriages?
See, what Sudha ma'am is saying, that Indian women in Indian context, Indian culture, are forced to adjust to any sort of relationships. When women are adjusting to any sort of relationships, no form of law is going to work. Whether it's domestic violence, whether it's 498A, whether it's marital rape, if women are supposed to adjust, why would a law work?
So
why
you're
would she
saying awareness. You're saying awareness and campaign.
It's not an issue of adjustment, ma'am. It's an issue of giving a power to a certain section of society, certain section of women, unscrupulous women, to misuse it on their husbands. The issue is that. Issue is not about
Unscrupulous
rights.
women are using
I would
gender.
like to clarify one thing.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify one thing, that see, you are talking about misuse. I'm saying that most of the women are not able to use these rights. They are not able
Ma'am,
to
I don't know.
access these
Those are all
rights
invisible
because
data. What is visible
denial
here is
built into
the rights of
system.
women are being
Denial is
recognized.
built into
The protest
institution of marriage.
is being conducted for it. But right of men, the misuse that you are facing, the violence they are facing at home, DV Act is not gender neutral. Sexual Harassment Act that is being proposed is not gender neutral.
Do you think that men have the right to
IPC
rape
498
women
there is no
within
recourse for men.
marriage?
So
does the man
interests
have
of the
right
men have been
to
totally
rape his
ignored.
wife within
The laws
marriage?
are being grossly misused left, right and center, and nobody is doing anything about
Sudha,
it.
let me put it to you. There is.
I'm talking about use. You're talking about misuse. I'm saying it's not use. Leave alone
Because
misuse.
all the laws are getting misused, ma'am.
But Sudha,
all
let me also
gender
put it to
balance
you.
are
That
getting
is only
misused.
the exception. Don't talk about
We have
the
given,
exception. That does not
we have
make the
given a
rule.
lot
The rule
of
is
power
it's not
in
used.
these laws that will get misused. You take the case of this sexual assault laws that is being proposed.
Power now
The Indian
is-
Evidence Act of
Sorry,
14A,
actually it's
the
not
way it is
true.
designed, consent is
not
not being clearly defined what consent is. A consensual sex is a consensual sex. The end. But we have not given a proper definition to it.
Just answer one question.
Coupled with
Just
Indian Evidence
answer
Act of
one
14A, where the
question.
burden of proof is on the innocent man.
Do you-
Where are we heading, ma'am?
Do you think?
Where are we heading
do you
when a
think
man
that
has
rape
not a
within
right to
marriage
even
is
defend
wrong
himself,
or not?
to prove his innocence?
Do you think rape
Okay.
within marriage is a crime or offense or not?
But Sudha, the problem with rape within marriage is that whose word are we to take for it? You know, and what extent are we going to, and to what extent are we going to allow for perhaps, you know, various kind of subjective perceptions, such as differences, say, in sexual appetite, what a man considers is reasonable amount of sex, which the woman doesn't want. It's you know, ultimately it's boiling down to the fact that can a man be jailed because his wife of 10 years says, one day you have raped me?
Sagarika, first of all, we're now living in an age where sex is not just in marriage. I mean,
No, we're talking about marital rape.
Yes, but sex is not just in marriage, so the same standards that apply to
No, but we're
sexual
talking
relations.
specifically about married women.
Sagarika, my point is the same standards that apply to proving rape in sexual relations outside of marriage. There's no reason why they can't apply to a marital relationship. Now you have many forms of relationship now that may not be marital.
Ma'am, domestic
But
violence act covers
they
it.
still involve consensual sexual relations, which may at some point or on a particular instance not be consensual. There is no reason why the same
But in that
standards
case,
cannot
why
apply.
should the woman simply not seek divorce under Section 13
she,
under cruelty?
She may well
Absolutely.
seek divorce, but why does she not have the right to say, I've been raped and I want this person to be punished for
Okay,
violating
let me
my
just
right
get
to
in, Arun
sexual
Sethi.
autonomy?
Why does a wife not have the right to say I've been raped if the husband is taking her consent for granted, if the man is not listening to the fact that she is not consenting to the act of sex? As Sila said she can't be treated as chattel just because she's a wife.
Sagarika, first of all this discussion about misuse, the classic guinea pig is me. After 21 years of marriage, I was behind bars under section 498A of the IPC.
Right.
I didn't even know what 498 is all about, which I do. Now, with all the experience we have got, with all the freedom we have given to our women, we have to be very careful about
I'm sorry,
this
there
marital
is no
rape
freedom that has been given
clause
to
being
women. It is
inducted.
women's freedom
is
by
not
right.
given.
Let's take a short break at this point. We'll come back and pick it up right where we left off. As we go into break, let's listen in to the views of men's rights activist Swarup Sarkar.
In India, assault means anyone, let it be physical, mental, verbal or sexual, already covered in the law 498A. Same thing is already covered in the Domestic Violence Act. If again this has been put in the marriage relationship, what we feel this will create a disharmony in the society, so the number of divorces will be increasing. So if this law has to be implemented, first the 498A has to be scrapped.
we are talking about whether the offence of marital rape must be brought in to the armory of laws that exist for the safety of women. In fact, it was a recommendation of the Verma Committee on Safety of Women, but it has not been incorporated in the government ordinance because the government feels that there is no consensus and that it is in fact a complicated issue. Let's bring you some tweets that we've received on this. Pavni Mittal is writing in, it is high time we have marital rape law. The statistics are mind-boggling. Armchair Pandit is writing, marital rape is an unprovable crime globally. It must be tackled through awareness and social change. Those are the tweets that we have on this issue. Let's put it to you, Sudha. You know, when we've opened up this question on social media, there was silence from women, but a number of men wrote in. A number of men wrote in onto our website and onto my Twitter page saying this will destroy family relationships. This will destroy marriage. It will destroy trust between husband and wife. Do you think there's a fear? And given the kind of milieu that exists in India, should the women's groups be a little more flexible about this particular demand and not take maximalist positions?
See, the situation is like this. Harmony within the family is being achieved perhaps where violence exists at the cost of the woman, because wherever you have surveys, wherever you have an analysis, you find that she is the vulnerable person, and she is vulnerable to violence, economic reasons, many social reasons, the fact that she is considered subordinate, the fact that she is considered a property. So these are the conditions. And in our society, a woman is expected to get married. How can we be so unjust? How can we deny this kind of justice? I mean, society should really think about it. Which century are we living in? This conservative backlash is something that a democratic society and
no, but answer the question that Mr. Waqif Ali is raising.
Right.
No, but what Mr. Waqif Ali
constitutional rights.
No, but what Mr. Ali is raising here is that there is domestic violence bill, there is the divorce laws, there's a sexual assault provisions. Why do you need another draconian law on this? Why isn't domestic violence?
It's not another
498A law. Why aren't those enough?
All of a piece. There is a huge attack on section 498A by institutions, by many organizations which do not accept that women are suffering this kind of violence. They all feel that it is being misused, but our experience from the ground tells us that actually women are hardly able to access that section.
Okay, let me put that to you.
You can only
let me put that to you. There's a lot of conservative backlash on. There's a lot of conservative backlash on 498A. The fact is that often you're talking about family harmony and domestic peace, but that is often secured at the cost of the woman. The woman is often putting up with an abusive sexual relationship simply to maintain the family home and the family harmony. Now there she should have access to marital rape offence.
See, first of all, what I would like to say is that 498A that is being misused.
Let's not go to 498A.
See, I'm just telling you that when there is something so grossly misused, where is any step from the women organization to arrest it? When there is no such initiative, why should I believe that when marital rape is being misused, they will not come forward and say, see, this is being misused, let's correct it? Are they okay with this fact? Let's make it gender neutral. Let's introduce a misuse clause to it. Let's remove 114A from this Indian Evidence Act. Are they okay with it? Let's scrap DV Act. Let's scrap 498 Act then, when we introduce this.
I'm just appalled at this constant refrain of too many laws. You have one law on dowry, doesn't mean you can't have a law punishing rape. What nonsense is this? You have a law on dowry, you have a law on cruelty, that doesn't mean you can't have a law on rape. These are separate offences, and each separate offence will have a separate punishment. And if you've committed 3 offences, you will be punished for 3 offences.
His point is they're all about crimes against women.
There are several crimes against women.
With women
that doesn't mean that you just have one provision to cover crimes against women and everything will come under that. If you ask for dowry, if you harass somebody for dowry, you rape somebody, you threaten somebody, you throw acid on somebody, unfortunately it will be covered under separate laws.
If you've got a law on crimes against women, then why do you need another law?
Because crimes against women is not crimes against women is not some a particular offence. Crimes against women defines a certain element that is common to all these offences, but these are different offences.
See what is happening, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
When you are introducing such powerful provisions,
you have theft. You have theft.
Instead
you
of
have
these
grievous
provisions
hurt,
becoming
you have forgery.
effective,
You have all these separate offences. You can't club them all as crimes against humanity.
Right. I think what we're looking at is a situation where the men's rights activists are saying yet another draconian law protecting the rights of women is a way to target men. But on the other hand, we have Mihira and Sudha saying that the crimes against women are so varied and so deep-rooted in society that it's precisely this kind of strong law that you need. And sexual rights of wives is something particularly not understood in a patriarchal culture like India, where consent in a marriage is seen as permanent. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. We're nowhere near resolution on this particular debate, but nor is the government. It's a complicated issue. Marital rape is going to come up against a lot of opposition. It's been coming up against a lot of opposition in the 1980s, and perhaps the women's groups need to be a little bit flexible when it comes to dealing with the stakeholders and reaching out for that dialogue. But thank you very much indeed, Sudha Raman, Captain Arun Sethi, Mihira Sood, Waqif Ali. Thanks very much. Before we end, here's a point to ponder. This is our Think About It section. Marital rape is a complicated question and needs to be thought through very carefully. In abusive relationships, it could be a legal recourse, but in normal relationships, it may be difficult to prove or implement. We should not reject marital rape altogether, but need to set clear guidelines about exactly in which situations it can apply. The final result of our SMS and online poll: the government says no consensus on marital rape. Does Indian society still not recognize the sexual rights of wives? What are you telling us there? In fact, what are you telling us in our poll? 67 are saying yes. Thanks for watching Face the Nation, and I hope you liked our new look, Face the Nation, that has come to you today. Good night.